Our next guest is a world-renowned businessman, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and author. Tony Robbins is with us, probably best known as the most successful and well-known life strategist in history. He has written 6 best-selling books. People from across the globe continue to flock to his motivational speaking events, but at his core, and more than anything else, Tony Robbins is a businessman. Coming from humble means, he skipped college. He now leads an empire worth $4 billion plus. His net worth estimated at more than $500 million, and his latest book, Unshakeable, Your Financial Freedom Playbook, just made the New York Times bestsellers list. And we are happy to welcome to the table Tony Robbins right now to Wall Street Week. Tony, great to see you.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. You know, when I was first talking to friends that you were coming on, they said, oh my God, I live and die with what Tony Robbins says. I mean, I will follow that man in every business venture and everything he does. It's incredible, the following that you have.
Yeah, I'm very, very privileged. But, you know, it's like what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public. And I've been doing this 40 years in 100 countries. So at this point, you know, I've had 50 million people go through my programs. And at this point, I have to be an idiot not to see there are patterns that make you feel successful, patterns that make you angry or frustrated, patterns that make you feel loved. And there aren't that many. So I get the phone call when the athlete's burning down on national television or when the child's suicidal, and knock on wood, I've never lost one out of thousands. We filmed them, we followed them up. You know, we made a documentary about it called I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix. And then I also get, you know, all the athletes and so forth. I get the phone call when President Clinton calls me, and true story, years ago, and says they're going to impeach me in the morning. What should I do? These are the types of calls I get. Or Serena Williams is melting down and I got to do something right now. So because of doing that for 4 decades, with that many people, I've had the privilege to be able to reach a lot of people, and I get these beautiful rewards of all the love that I receive walking down the street from people sharing with me how they've changed their lives using some of what I taught them. There is a lot of love around you, and you have changed so many people's lives. But that's today, and you know that, and our audience knows that. But you had a cash-strapped upbringing. You had modest upbringing. Cash-strapped is an understatement. Right? And so, I mean, how did you do it? I mean, talk to us and our audience about how you achieved this massive empire. I know it's 4 decades, but take me back to the beginning. How'd you do it? Well, the very beginning is I've always been a lover of people. I had a very intense mother who's a good soul, but abused alcohol and prescription drugs, so she's very abusive. And I think that suffering, having your head smashed against the wall, having liquid soap poured down your throat because someone thinks you're lying and you're not till you throw up, it was so severe that I couldn't look at somebody else suffering and not feel for them. It made me very empathetic. So that's how I became kind of Mr. Solution in high school. I read 700 books. I was trying to read a book a day. I took a speed reading course, but I didn't do that. But in 7 years, I read 700 books in human development, psychology, physiology. And I was the guy, you know, you have a problem, I got the solution, especially if you were a girl. I was extra motivated at that point to do it. And then business grew because I realized my ideas were going to die on my lips unless I could build a business where I could reach people. I was an artist, not a businessman. And it just evolved. I bought a resort in Fiji that I was so deeply touched by, and I built it from scratch up to, you know, it was basically a backpacker's place to the #1 resort in the country for the last decade. And it just grew. Anything that I thought could touch somebody's life. So now I have 31 companies, and as you said, we do over $5 billion in sales. But I only run 12 of those actively. The rest I'm more of a passive participant and investor in. But it's been so much fun to make these shifts. And along the way, it's allowed me to do well enough that I can feed 100 million people a year. I've been doing with Feeding America for the last 2 years. Wow. I'm going to feed 1 billion people. 250,000 people a day in India. We provide fresh water to, my wife and I, because kids get killed by waterborne disease, and we're going to get that to 1 million. 2 weekends ago, I won't say where, to cover the piece, but I'm part of the Underground Railroad Group. Right. Former CIA, FBI guys, and we went in, I get emotional thinking about it. We went in and did this sting operation where we freed 36 girls, 9 to 13 years old, who were attached to beds, chained, having sex to men. Oh my God. People don't realize this exists and is going on. There's more slavery today than there has ever been in our history, in the country, or the world rather, because the population is so much bigger. So those things I can do because I've become successful in business as well. And you give back. So when you invest, and I want to ask you about this quote that you had said to someone a while back, the way that I started is I decided to pay myself first. But before you answer that, when you invest in these companies, whether it's actively managing them or just being a financial backer, do you do things that you love? I mean, virtual reality, is this something that is a hobby, something that you love, or do you look at it as, okay, this could be a moneymaker for me, or both? I look at it both. I look at what is something that could change the quality of people's lives. So stem cells, I'm involved with planetary resources. We convinced Congress that we could go to meteors and that we could declare them like the Old West for America but we get all the mineral rights. And, my partners are the guys from Google and Peter Diamandis and so forth. So I have some great partners. I mean, great, great people. So I do the things that I think can change lives while also being a great possibility for profit in business. When
you first started, you said someone gave you great advice, and,
yes.
and that person said to you, pay yourself first.
It was actually Ken Blanchard who wrote those 1 Minute Manager books. I helped him take 5 strokes off his golf game. He thought I was God. I said, I don't even play golf, right? But I know how to change this, right? So it took about 2 months, and he called me back and said, I figured out how to pay you back. I want to have lunch with you. And long story short, he pulled me aside and said, Tony, the best financial advice of my life came when a very wealthy man told me, you're about to write the 1 Minute Manager book. He said, a business will eat any cash you have it when it's growing. You have to draw a line in the sand, and that money that you're getting, don't give it to your business. Let them get the clients. Don't give it to yourself. Put it in an investment account. Don't touch it and let it grow. And he said, Tony, when the business had trouble, I had cash. And so I kept my head straight, and I turned the business around. And I did the same thing with my first books. Now I give away my books, but my first books and my infomercials from years ago when I was on TV 24 hours a day, about every 30 minutes. And it made me financially wealthy more than working as hard as I worked throughout my life. That did it. It gave me freedom. So that's what I want for anyone. So start creating your own little nest egg. And, I mean, depending on how you get paid, if you get paid every 2 weeks, it does. Maybe 1 week it'll be $50. Another time it might be $100. Maybe it'll be $1,000. Whatever it is, start that little nest egg. If people even put aside, and people can do more than this, $40 a week. For someone who says, I have no money, over a 30-year span of, an 8% return, which has been our average, you're going to have $500,000 with that alone. Phenomenal success secrets from you, Tony. I want to talk about your new book coming up next. Stay right here, Tony Robbins. Don't go anywhere. We have much more to discuss when Wall Street Week comes right back. Stay with us.